Dire straits. Rich Eisen on the Falcons' outlook in wake of Michael Penix's season-ending injury. All right, ladies and gentlemen, look. I don't want to kick them while they're down, okay? But we're going to take a bit of a victory lap here with the Atlanta Falcons. For years, F-O-R, not F-O-U-R. For years, I've been saying, I don't know, man. Like, some of these decisions the Falcons are making that are being applauded, I just don't see it. For years, F-O-R years, not F-O-U-R years. I've been saying, why would they get Kirk Cousins and then get Michael Penix? Like, everyone keeps saying the Derek Carr deal is so bad, but it's not as bad as the Cousins deal. Raheem Morris, I don't know. That seems like a bad hire. I don't know. Some of these picks looks like busts. I don't know. Maybe the wide receiver room isn't as good as everyone says. I don't know. That draft day trade seems kind of crazy. I don't know if they're NFC champion contenders year in and year out, even though they haven't had a winning season in 8 years. So now that Penix is hurt, out for the year, we're now starting to see some media jump in and walk back the last couple of years of Falcons glazing. All right? So we're going to go ahead and listen to that.
When Michael Penix Jr. got drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, everyone was sitting right there at that draft saying, what's up with that? Because Kirk Cousins just left Minnesota to be your starting quarterback, and you just paid him gajillions of dollars, and you went ahead and used a draft choice instead of to support this veteran quarterback in his final dotage years in the National Football League to try and go all in on that basket in the same way the Jets were doing with Aaron Rodgers at the time, not knowing that the Steelers were going to do the same thing with Rodgers in a couple of years. But I get ahead of myself. We were all sitting there going, what are the Falcons thinking by taking a quarterback at all?
The problem with the Penix pick was that it was okay to get Cousins and then say, you know what? Let's take his successor and let's just do it here. Let's just fix the future, the present and the future. The problem was you took the one player in the draft, or the one quarterback who couldn't wait. You took the oldest quarterback in that draft. You took the quarterback who would get the least out of sitting and developing behind Kirk Cousins. All right, that was the problem. The idea is fine. The idea is like, sure, okay, if you like a quarterback and he's there and he can sit for a year behind Cousins, no problem. Sit for 2 years behind Cousins, whatever, and then come in fully developed. Yeah, that's all good. But the fit just didn't. The fit wasn't good at all.
Lone one who is, arguably coming into this draft that has since, as we've seen, put Drake May into the ether, and we see what he's doing now. Jaden Daniels was the unicorn last year, and we see what Bo Nix has become there, and we're waiting for J.J. McCarthy to still show up regularly like he did.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen, brother. J.J. McCarthy is a bust.
Did in Michigan, winning a national championship there, and Caleb Williams, my goodness gracious, now is a 7-3 NFC North leading into Week 12 quarterback.
Yeah, finally looks like the number one overall pick.
But Penix, out of all of them, was believed to be the most pro-ready because he's also, a Brandon Whedon, age.
A little older.
Okay,
yeah,
he's
older.
24, and he also, boy, does he have that gorgeous spiral, like an NFL film spiral.
No doubt.
And
Anytime you start hearing about stuff like this, red flag. Anytime the analysis is, oh man, the spiral. Oh man, he throws a pretty ball. It's the NFL. All right, everyone's throwing tight spirals. Everyone's throwing pretty balls. All right, everyone has. If you're a first round pick, if you're an NFL starting quarterback, you don't have to worry about the spiral.
Rocket arm, but also a surgically repaired knee multiple times over, having suffered not one, not two, not three, but 4 season-ending injuries in his college career where he was all over the map. But that's not his fault.
Yeah.
It's part and parcel of the way things are going in college football now. So you're drafting somebody that a lot of people thought they didn't need. And then they drafted somebody whose availability wasn't always his best ability. And sure enough.
Well, you also give $170 million or whatever it was to Kirk Cousins coming off of an Achilles injury. Coming off of a serious injury. So, I mean, Derek Carr is who he is. But the Falcons could have got Derek Carr for a whole lot cheaper without the Achilles injury. Right? So even the free agent quarterback's decision. The Falcons had, when you really think about this, and you think about how many decisions they had in a row that they've gotten wrong, and every single person in the media, besides me, glazed them for 3 years and completely turned a blind eye to it. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I'll have to get one of my interns or producers to go back and look, but you can go back and look from last year. People had the Falcons at 12 wins. They had the Falcons, like the preseason projections, 12 wins, 13 wins. Kirk Cousins can lead this team to a Super Bowl. This year, Atlanta Falcons, they're the surprise team in the NFC. They can win 10 games, 11 games. It's kind of insane. It's a reverse New Orleans Saints thing where I think because they have the cool names, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, whatever, and people just know who they are, they get this weird pass for being a good franchise. But like we've said a million times, they're going on 8 years without a winning season. That's New York Jets. That's Cleveland Browns. That's worst. Like that's a horrible situation to be in. Okay? Especially when you have all those first round picks, top 10 picks. All right? You got a handful of top 10 picks who are playing well. Drake London and Bijan Robinson playing really well. And you can't even have a winning season. Okay? So let's just think about the number of decisions. First, you hire Art Smith. Not good. Okay? Then your offense is busted. So who do you hire? Raheem Morris. Okay, that doesn't make much sense. Okay, that's kind of weird. They interviewed Mike McDonald. They interviewed Jim Harbaugh. They interviewed Ben Johnson. They interviewed, Bill Belichick was in conversations there. I'm not saying Belichick would have been a good hire or whatever, but they land on Raheem Morris. Okay, well, that's questionable. Kirk Cousins signing. Okay, that's kind of interesting. He just, he's on one leg. The Kyle Pitts draft pick. Okay, well, you drafted him, but you're not really using him. What's going on here? All right, the Michael Penix draft pick. Okay, well, that's not making much sense either. The trade last year, okay, or this past draft, to move up, giving your first round pick next year, to move up, to fix the defense. Okay, well, the Falcons now, especially if they lose to the Saints on Sunday, have a real shot at having the worst record in the league, or at least one of the 3 or 5 worst records in the league, aka a top 5 draft pick. And as of right now, that draft pick is heading to LA. It could be the first overall pick, second overall pick, third overall pick, fourth overall pick, fifth overall pick. Could be going to the Rams, who right now are the Super Bowl favorites. I know Joe Dumars is catching a lot of flack for this Derek Queen trade. Let me go ahead and tell you, the Falcons trade right now is so much worse than the Derek Queen trade. So much worse than the Derek Queen trade. Because the first round pick for the Pels, that's a lottery ticket. They can get that back. You don't know what that pick's going to be. You don't guarantee yourself the first pick, second pick, third pick, whatever. It's a lottery ticket. They can trade. I just heard last night that they may trade Trey Murphy, get 3 first-round pick, whatever. You can get back into the lottery. The Falcons pick, if they're the worst team in the NFL, if they're the second worst team in the NFL, you know what that pick is. You know it's the second overall pick, third overall pick, first overall pick, whatever it ends up being. Okay? And Falcons right now are staring at another losing season. They're staring at firing Raheem Morris. I'll go ahead and tell you this right now. If they lose to the Saints, they're going to fire him on Monday. They're going to have to replace Raheem Morris, which means they're going to have to replace Zach Robinson. Okay, so you're going to have a whole new staff, defensive and offensive. Who even knows a quarterback? All right. And the worst part of it, you're going to have to start paying these players. You've had this core group of rookies. Okay, well, what kind of contract are you going to give Bijan Robinson? What kind of contract are you going to give Drake London? What are you going to do with these guys? Where's the money going to come from? The bills come and due, and you got nothing to show for it.
They needed him last year because Kirk Cousins started falling apart at the seams, coming off of an Achilles injury of his own, right? And they turned to Penix. Save the season, kid. He couldn't. He tried. Then he gets the starting job this year, and everyone's wondering, are you going to get rid of Kirk Cousins now? And the answer was no. Doesn't matter how expensive he is. We may need him. And we were all like, wink, wink. All right. That's just you trying to cover the fact and cover some tracks of drafting Penix.
Well, even last year with Penix. Penix plays, what did he play, 3 games, right? I think he went 1 and 2, played 3 games, had 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, if I remember correctly. Played against like the worst 3 defenses in the NFL. Lost 2 games, okay? One being to the Panthers at home, which seems to be, kind of consistent. But even that, after those games, he averaged 250 yards passing a game, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, okay? So even that, people were glazing, saying, all right, Falcons are good. They're good at quarterback for the future, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen enough. This is a team that can win 10, 11, 12 games.
And having a bad signing, and you're definitely going to offload him at some point. Nobody knocked on the door to their liking with an offer. They held on to him. Penix missed 1 game with a bone bruise on a knee this year. Didn't look great for Cousins in that game. Tua and the Dolphins started planting their feet and pirouetting on their season. We'll see how much more winning they can do. But here we are now on this Week 12 Wednesday with the Atlanta Falcons having lost in overtime at home to the Carolina Panthers in a game where they not only lost Drake London with a knee injury, but lost Penix with 1-2. And we find out today, season-ending knee surgery for Michael Penix Jr. And it's yet another ACL injury, partially torn, thank goodness. But this was the concern about him, and it's not fair to bring up his injury history at this moment, except for the fact that the Falcons have a season on the line, and unbelievably, the person they're turning to save it is the guy they turned away from last year and turned to Penix to save it, and Kirk Cousins, who's still there. And it's a much bigger hole from which...
Yeah, they're 3-8. Like, right? Isn't that what their record is? They're 3-8, something like that. So, this idea that let me double check here. Let me make sure I'm right. They're 3-7. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm right. 3-7. The season's over.
The Falcons are asking Cousins to dig out of, rather than the one that Cousins handed to Penix last year. Dire straits for the Atlanta Falcons, who are now looking up in the standings at a Carolina Panthers team that has already swept them this year for the first time since 2013. Atlanta, 3-7. They're not even in the sniffing it category when we show you the NFC standings here. And we're very lenient on the sniffing it portion of
We're generous.
Yeah, we're generous when it comes to we expand the circle to 4-5-1 teams. But after that, we got to turn our back on you. They're not even in the mix right now. And Atlanta's next game is at New Orleans before they visit the Jets, and then they're home for Seattle at Tampa on a Thursday night, mid-December.
And even more damning, they do not own their first-round pick next year.
That belongs to the Rams because they traded back into it for more defensive pass rush help, which has been an improvement this year.
Yeah, sweet.
An improvement this year. So it looks like the Falcons are in a position where they couldn't even have imagined they'd be in right now. Or certainly they hoped they wouldn't be in, with Penix not there because he hurt a knee that a lot of red flags were flying about.
I mean, did we all have them in the playoffs this year? Or
did you choose them to win the division?
I think I might have.
See?
I mean, their offense is stacked and improved defense. It's all right there.
And by the way, Drake London might not play this week either.
But do you see? Like, even this year, he had them to win the division over the Bucs. Their offense is stacked. Is it? Is the offense stacked? Bijan is good. Drake London is good. Is the offense stacked? Has it been stacked? It's crazy. And listen, I say this all the time. This is a great example of why groupthink in the national media is dangerous. Because all of a sudden, you get every single show saying the same thing. And we saw it with the Saints this offseason. Every single show was saying, Saints worst team in the NFL, penciled them in at 32. 0-17, tank for Arch Manning. Every single show. And we were saying, tank for Arch, man. He's not even going to be in the draft. Like, do we even know he's good, much less the first overall pick? Right? We heard the same copy pasta all offseason. Saints 0-17. Saints pencil in at 32. Relegate the Saints to the Mountain West. Tank for Arch Manning or Garrett Nussmeier because his dad is the OC. We heard that from every single show on every single network. Because, spoiler, all these shows do is aggregate the first article to come out, and they copy and paste it, and everyone says the same thing. And no one strays away from it. Because they don't have the time to do it. And they don't care. And they don't watch the games. That's it. That's the bottom line. And so what happens is you get this inverse where they say, I know who Bijan Robinson is. Oh, let's pick the Falcons to win 10 games, 11 games, 12 games. Oh, I know who Michael Penix is. I watched the college football playoffs. Yeah. Okay. Let's just pencil. Okay, here we go. I'm going to predict them to win the division. They'll win 12 games, whatever. Okay, okay, there you go. And then every single person's saying it. And then you're hearing people say, oh, yeah, I mean, the Falcons' playmakers are just insane. So outside of Bijan Robinson, who? I mean, Drake London is good, sure. But that wide receiver room, dare I say, and I did say this, pretty similar to the Saints. All right, depending on what you think about Chris Olave. But Chris Olave, Drake London, propping up everybody else. And when the Falcons had Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Rondale White, Ray McLeod, I was sitting here saying, I don't know, I'd rather have Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Cooks than Drake London, and this was last year, but and then Chris Olave gets hurt. But I was saying Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are as a package better than Drake London and Ray McLeod. You know, so it just goes to show you how fast this thing can turn with the narrative and all of that. It can turn really, really quick. And all of a sudden, when everyone for the last 3 years in the media who's been saying this kind of stuff and pushing this, all of a sudden now they got to look around and say, well, wait a minute. Okay, time to turn on the Falcons. Time to turn. All right, ladies and gentlemen, fun little discussion this morning. TGIF OTF. I will see you in the next video.